Good afternoon, everybody. Another new week, another new topic. Um, Still gonna piggyback on what I've talked about in the past a little bit, right? So, the last sin that I just talked about was pride and its biggest feeder, which is ego. So, the second part of that was me talking about what essentially beats pride and essentially beats ego, and that is self-respect. Once you learn to attain consistent self-respect, you will learn how to consistently beat the lie of pride. um, and so I want to talk about this time probably the biggest, not it's not a big misconception, but I think when it comes to this sin, people don't realize that it's not exactly a sin of complete action. More so, it's a kind of like a disturbance within yourself. It creates imbalance. It creates a vibration within you, and a lot of times it can go to, it's not necessarily asleep, but you ignore it so much that you convince yourself that it's not there, right? You kind of lie to yourself that it might not be there, and that is the sin of wrath, right? Wrath, you don't always have to be someone who take action in wrath to be cursed by wrath, right? The craziest thing about wrath is that it's not the biggest sin, right? Not like, oh, if you do it or if you're cursed by it, um, it won't harm you that much. No, it's opposite. It's like a small whisper in your ear. It's kind of like, before you sneeze, you can feel the tinkle start coming in. It gets big enough to where you gotta sneeze it out, right? That is how wrath plays out a lot of times. And in truth, wrath, just like pride, right, is fed through so many different types of circumstance. And in truth, wrath feed into three of the out of the six sins, right? Wrath can be fed off of sloth, wrath can be fed off of pride, and wrath can be fed off of envy, right? So, we're going to talk about wrath. So, again, just like what I just said, wrath is an imbalance of your vibration, right? Wrath isn't necessarily that I go out there and I yell out to the world, what am I angry about? And I'm gonna say this now. This There's nothing wrong with being mad. There's nothing wrong with being angry. In truth, you need that, because if you can't get mad at certain things, then you're not going to fix it. If you can't get mad at your circumstance, then you're probably not going to try to make your circumstance better, right? If anything, you'll become complacent. And so you got to understand there's constructive anger and then there's destructive anger. There's people such as myself, which I really deal with a good bit, is that when I get angry, or not necessarily angry, but when I don't feel like myself, I usually shut down, or whenever the world is just getting the best of me, I shut down. I'm not gonna lash out unless there's something to lash out about, but mostly, I shut down. I get into myself, I get into a bubble, I try to figure it out, I try to take on the world by myself. Um, it's the same thing as self-destruction, right? I'm destroying, not necessarily destroying myself, but I'm harming myself by me shutting down. And that's perfectly fine. Not perfectly fine, but, at least I know it. And again, just like what I said in the first time I talked about pride, it's important that you know your enemy. If you don't know your enemy, you can never beat your enemy. And a lot of times your biggest enemy, just like what they said, is yourself. And I very much believe that. Being a old athlete such as myself, I came to terms to understanding that If I'm gonna be better, then I have to be my own best friend. But on the same thing, if I'm not gonna better myself, I should not harm myself. And so, yeah. So about being angry, there's nothing wrong with being angry. There's nothing wrong with getting mad about something. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with lashing out. Sometimes you just need to get it out of yourself, right? But there is a bad thing about having wrath. And so this is where we go into wrath, right? So, like I said, wrath is uh, a disturbance in your vibration, right? You can be a great person and still suffer from wrath. It's not necessarily something that you put out into the world, but it's what's going on in you. You hear it a lot how, at the surface the water can be very calm, but underneath there can be a freaking bloodbath. There can be animals just going crazy, just killing each other. There could be a war underneath the surface, and you just never know. That is a disturbance in the vibration, right? Even though everything at the surface is calm and smooth, if everything underneath it is not where it needs to be, then a lot of times, no matter how good you become, it's not going to be enough to fulfill that not necessarily yearning, but to fulfill what you need to fulfill in order to be whole, in order for your vibration to just coexist. And that's the thing when it comes to wrath. Wrath is just a disturbance, and in truth, wrath is poison, because it poisons your mind. Instead of you seeing clearly, you're looking through foggy glass. It's not coming in clear. And so the hard thing about wrath is, like I said, it's not the biggest thing. It's not going to be the biggest thing that really gets you off guard. It's going to be the fact of the matter is that you're playing into wrath's hand each and every time. So how can I explain this the best way? So again, like I said, it plays into three different sins already, right? Pride, right? When you have wrath, right, it's not necessarily mean that you're going to do something to harm somebody or harm yourself. It's a disturbance within yourself. That means you cannot be happy or fulfilled in the moment. All the day-to-day moments that should make you happy and make you grateful for being alive and make you grateful and thankful for God and everything under the sun, it's gonna make it the polar opposite. Because instead of you being able to see the glass half empty, you're gonna see it mostly full, and it's gonna be full with poison or things that you really don't want in it, right? Anybody can take a good moment and try to dissect it and look for the evil, right? It's just like in a relationship, right? If you get into a relationship and you look for the bad and the quality of the person that you're dating, then you're gonna find it. There's nothing that anybody can do that can stop you from finding that negative stuff, and that's where wrath comes in. Wrath will like I said, make you not appreciate the moment that you're in, and it will make you not appreciate the tranquility that you can bring to the environment that you're at that time, right? Wrath will make you ruin a day off of a small innocent incident. Wrath will make you just ruin your day, completely ruin your day because you got cut off, right? It will make you fester over an event that it really doesn't matter in the long-term play of things, but because that event happened to you, now you might do something very ignorant or outside of yourself just so you can get that energy out because you believe that that's the reason why you have your wrath. Case in point, right? You hear about all the game bangers. If you ever sit down, I love hearing game bangers stories or people who went to jail and everything like that. I don't know why. I'm just definitely intrigued by it. And one of the things that they always say, or not they always say, but one of the things that they always, a lot of times they bring up, is that what got them into a bad situation was just one event that was very small and minute, but because wrath had a grip on them, it magnified it. It poisoned the way their mind could have seen it, right? Um, my father, who went through whatever he went through in the past, he's not the most innocent person in the world. But it was funny because last time we talked, he said, he told me a story about how he was in a grocery store getting ready to go pay off his food and everything like that, but he forgot some stuff. So he ran back to go grab his stuff and come back. He got back and dude sized him up and said something rude to him. And he said that him being him, he went back to his car and sat in his car for about an hour. Even after dude got in his car and took off, he sat in his car for about an hour, convincing himself not to go back inside or follow this guy, just to simply harm this dude. And why is that? Is because he does deal with wrath. He and that's the thing. I don't want to give the key to how you get rid of wrath, but a lot of times wrath is built up. It's built up. It's hard to break somebody's vibration. A good person is a good person, right? Now, does that mean a good person might not have a moment of weakness? No. Does that mean that a good person will not, end up doing something that's completely benign to themselves or even to others? No. We are humans, and so we are never meant to be perfect. We are mostly meant to just be the greatest us as we can be. To always be able to put our best foot forward. But a lot of times, in order for you to put your best foot forward, you're going to go against some hardships. You're going to go against these sins, and these sins are a daily thing. It's not something that you could just do at one point and it beats you. No, it's and you're going to be judged upon that. No, it's a daily thing. It's something that you have to consistently work at, and that's probably the hardest thing about them, is because they are curses, and at any point you can become cursed by these sins. And a lot of times they target you small, and then they grow, right? And the smallest one by far is the sin of wrath. And how you beat it is not by you just being like a duck and letting things roll off your back, let the water roll off your back. No, a lot of times it's about you using your energy and putting forward what wrath is trying to have you ingest, right? If you're in a relationship, it's the easiest way for me to explain it. But if you're in a relationship, it is bad for man or woman to sit there and fester over something that their opposite does or do. And it's even worse for the opposite who's feeling some type of way about whatever him or her are doing, to feel like it's going to bother your opposite more if you speak up. If anything, that will cause even more anxiety, and that will cause you to have even more wrath built up within you than what you really need. And that's the key to beating wrath. You cannot allow what you ingest from wrath to sit within you. You gotta let it out. Because if you don't let it out, it's just gonna build and build and build. And each time wrath builds, something else is being built, right? Say, for example, like I said, sloth. when I get to sloth, I'm going to be able to explain it. Being a slothful person doesn't necessarily mean that you don't do nothing. A slothful person or a person cursed by sloth may be a person who just is not going about their life to reach their fullest potential. That in itself is a curse, because if anything, that is a slap in God's face, that God can give you so much potential, but yet you're too afraid to reach for it. And how can wrath play into that? Well, wrath will make it to where instead of you just being slothful and not doing what you could do, it will make you see the world in a negative space, and it will make you blame the world for the circumstance that you're in, right? When in truth, you have every right, you have every strength that you need to get yourself out of your situation and go about your life in a better place, right? So, with that being said, if you listen to what I've been saying, it sounds more so like wrath is a blinder. Yes, that's pretty much it. Wrath is a blinder, right? But again, like I said, it's poisonous. It's a poisonous blinder. It's not going to allow you to see that there's a way out, and it's not going to allow you to see that, there's love to be made, and there's love within a negative circumstance. The bad thing about the bad thing about the world right now is that, just like perfection, we've created this idea about how love should be. We've created this idea that love should just be easygoing, no fighting, nothing like that. When in truth, that's not love. Everybody loved their parents, but I'm pretty sure everybody's been into it with their parents. You know, that's just what it is. Um, and that's the thing. Wrath is it's gonna lie to you just like pride will, and it's gonna poison the way you see the world. And you gotta be able to sit back and be like, man, the world's really not that bad. Yeah, the world is against you. The world's against anybody. To be honest, nobody ever have it to where the world is all for them. Just like with that saying, "There's no son born from a great man." You know, the world is against everybody. You just gotta pick your battles and go about it, but also always realize, the world can be against you, but the universe is for you. Which one are you going to choose? Are you going to conquer? Are you going to allow the world to beat you down when you have the universe backing you up? But I digress. Again, wrath, right? So we already said sloth, right? Wrath, as a slothful person, if I'm a slothful person, wrath is going to show itself by me being mad at circumstances, and that's going to make me justify my circumstance for me being slothful or me not trying to reach my fullest potential. All right? Pride, and this is the rough one, right? Pride, like I said, is a lie. Pride is you consistently being able to lie to yourself about who you are, the circumstance you're in, and the things that you should be, quote unquote, proud of, right? Again, self-respect will beat that back, and self-respect will make you take actions, positive actions at that, right? But pride will eventually beat you down and make you into somebody that you probably never really wanted to be. But pride with wrath will make you into more so a person that people would just really want to be around, right? How does wrath feed into pride? It not only is it going to blind you, right? It's not only is it going to make you not see the world around you, because that's already happening with you being prideful. You being prideful is going to internalize you. It's going to make you um, more so about yourself than you are about the world and what you can do and produce for the world. Wrath will make you ungrateful. Wrath will make you feel like you have every right in the world to curse the world, you know, to not see the positive within the world. Pride will isolate you. Wrath will put a barrier up between you and the rest of the world. And that's the caveat to that. You know, wrath, like I said, it's just poison. And rather you eat it in, drink it in, or breathe it in, it's there. The only way you can get rid of it is by letting it out. Whatever it is that is bothering you, whatever it is that you've went through your life, you have to let it out in order for you to heal. And does that mean you need to talk to a therapist? No. Again, just like what I said about love. If you are mad about your circumstance and you believe in Lord Jesus Christ, then you need to talk to Lord Jesus Christ and have a real conversation with him. A real conversation does not always mean that it's polite. Even to God, you know, speak up. And I know it sounds crazy, but yell at God, tell him what's up. You know, like, yo, like, I don't know where I'm at. This is not good for me. I've been through this, and the third. I need you to help me, console me. You got to release that energy because that's what wrath is. It's negative energy latching on, and it's so small and minute that you would never knew it was there until things start happening to you, and you sit down and you actually calculate and you watch and you actually determine what's been going on in your life. How has that been affected by what you've been through, right? And that's the thing about wrath. Everybody goes through something. And in pride, we will be able to say it helped build me, which is true, right? In retrospect, not saying in pride, but in retrospect, it helps build you. But are you going to take pride in what you went through, or are you going to have self-respect for what you've been through? Out of self-respect, right? When I was younger, I was homeless, right? At some point in my life. Me being who I am now, I still feel that power of wrath within me, to where I tell myself consistently a lot of times that even when I drive by a homeless person, I try to give them what I can, food, money, and everything like that. Like I said, out of self-respect. But even when I drive by a homeless person, I can hear it in myself within me. I'm never going back to that. I'm never going back to that. I'm never going back to that. Right? Where does that come from? That comes from wrath. That comes from something within me that is still disturbed. How do I get rid of it? I'm doing it now. I'm putting the energy out there. I'm speaking it out. I'm not allowing myself to just sit and fester and let it just completely just fester and fester. I'm not allowing the poison to just completely be pumped through my body. No, I'm getting it out. I'm puking it out. You gotta puke out that poison. You gotta get rid of it. If you gotta bleed it out, you gotta bleed it out. You gotta figure it out, but you gotta get the poison out, right? So what did I say? I said sloth, pride, and envy. And that's the hard one, right? Because envy in itself is it's just like pride, but it's different, right? Pride will tell you that you're the greatest, and pride will make you take actions that again will make people want to stay away from you. Envy can do the same thing, right? Envy can make people want to stay away from you. But on the same thing, envy will make you want to steal from others. And it's not necessarily stealing such as something physical, right? Such as, a wallet or something. You can steal somebody's energy, you know? An envious person can steal somebody's energy. An envious person, right, can put poison back into somebody else. And that is how wrath and envy coexist. In order for you to have envy, there's a part of you that's it's not necessarily about you wanting more for yourself, but it's more so about you feel like somebody else don't deserve what they have. If even if it's somebody else, it can even be an animal. An animal might not deserve its life in your eyes, in an envious person's eyes, right? So how does wrath play into that? Well, wrath, instead of an envious person can still be a coward. An envious person, even though, I might want to ruin this guy's day, or, I'm not necessarily, I don't think an envious person actually thinks like that. But let's just say, I wanna ruin this person's day. I'm gonna fuck his head up, How am I gonna mess his head up? Well, I'm gonna do this, that, and the third. Well, the person that's saying that I'm gonna do this, that, and the third, that's the person that's dealing with wrath. You know, that's the part of you, whoever is envious, that is dealing with wrath as well, to where you're willing to put poison on somebody else, that you're willing to poison somebody else's day just so you can feel better about your envious ways, about your envious mindset, about your envious lack of self-control, one, your envious lack of self-determination, and your envious wrath of just being jealous, and that's the thing, right? And I'm trying to close this out because this is a long video, but hey, again, guys, whoever watched this video, doubt there'll be too many people watching these videos, but again, this is just food for thought, open thought. This is just as much for you as it is for me. Help me, in truth, helping me. I came to terms with the fact that I am partially a wrathful person. There are things in me that I never sat down with, because just like anybody else, I've been told the same sob story, as far as, everybody else is going through something. Everybody else has their story. Everybody has this, everybody has that. When in truth, it doesn't matter, that everybody else is going through something. In truth, you have to take care of you in order for you to help somebody else. I can't help somebody else if I'm drowning. It's funny that, I'm a ritualistic person. Things that I do consistently. And one of the things I always do, which my mom teases me about, but I always do this before I get on a flight. The one drink I'm going to order when I'm on a flight is orange juice. And right before the flight takes off, I always go into the front pocket and I always read the instruction manual as far as a crash. And the first thing they always say if we're going down is, the first, secure yourself and then secure another. And that's the thing. And that's where wrath takes a hold. I'm not saying that people who take care of everybody else and don't necessarily always take care of themselves are they're going to suffer from wrath. No. What I am saying is if you're dealing with something then you must understand that is your journey and that is your path. And in truth, it is your responsibility. And out of respect for yourself, you got to get it done to figure out the best means to bring out the greater side of you. And if you're suffering from wrath, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to do that. But no, I'm lying. It's probably going to be, you can get through it because, again, wrath is very minute, but you gotta pay attention to it. And something that I'm trying to learn myself is to speak up. Next video I'll talk about this, but if you want to beat wrath, then you gotta be proactive. It's not something where, in my head, compared to pride, I can beat pride because I have my own self-respect. You know, it doesn't necessarily take me action into um, beating pride as much as it will for wrath. Because unlike pride, wrath is dangerous. I mean, pride is dangerous, but wrath can really bring people to a level that they should never be at. And they even know it. They can even know it. I even know it. Um, and that's the thing. The hardest thing about it though is how much are you willing to dig up and how deep are you willing to dive into that lake to find that pebble within yourself that is causing so much disturbance within yourself. And let's say you dive in and you find multiple. Are you willing to grab them all? You know, should you grab them all at once? Should you take them out one by one? What's what's your duty to yourself? And and that's just where it is. And I'm gonna end it on this note. I think I'm gonna try to upload both today, since it's very heavy on my mind and speaking through my spirit. So yeah, but I hope y'all had a nice day. Today is Monday, and I love y'all, and I hope to hear any comments, read any comments. Like I said, I will read through all the comments, and I enjoy what y'all got to say. And whoever's just passing this by, if you want to comment and leave whatever you can leave, again, I am thankful, and I hope you have a blessed day. Nothing but love.